She is Raquel Pennington, and she is kind enough to join us right now. There she is. Hello, Raquel. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the big win in Toronto just a few weeks ago. Could I ask, what has life been like since you climbed the mountaintop, since you achieved your dream? Can you even possibly put it into words?
I still don't have the words for it. It's been a really interesting journey. I went out there, I felt great, like phenomenal fight camp. It was a good fight week, but I actually started to get sick.
Oh,
And so the morning of the fight, waking up, I woke up and like, man, I've never felt like that. And I was just like, I actually kind of questioned everything. And then it was just like, all right, like this is what we do in this sport. Like we persevere and here's another mountain to climb. So I think from just the weight cut kind of broke down my immune system. Woke up super sick, pushed through the fight. And then we got back home and I've been in bed. I got myself out one day to go into the mountains with my family and like try to have some fun. Think it was a bad idea. And so this morning I was actually back at the doctor's and getting some new medicine.
wow. And so what is wrong? Do you have any idea?
So they tested me for RSV, the flu, and COVID. They wanted to test me in Canada, but we were like, this is not happening. Like, I have something to focus on right now. That all came back negative. I just have some chest stuff going on. I have a sinus infection. And then they told me I had a right ear infection. And
Jeez.
when I went back to the doctor, the right ear infection is gone, but now my left ear is acting up. So I don't know.
Have you ever had to deal with that enough? I mean, you've been doing this for a very long time, but where you felt that bad going into a fight and during the fight?
No, back in, I want to say 2018 when I fought Jermaine, I had some thyroid issues going on. They were testing me for thyroid cancer. There was a bunch of stuff there. My weight, like that's when I missed weight for the first time ever in my career. And I had that struggle, but otherwise, like actually being sick like this, not since my Invicta days. So the morning of the fight, when I woke up, Tisha's like, she's super hype and she's like, are you excited? Happy fight day. And I was like, Tisha, I don't feel good. Like I had a pounding headache. My sinuses hurt. My face hurt. I had body aches going on. And I'm the type of person when I'm sick, like I just want to lay down and beat it myself. Or if I have a little bit of energy, I want to go sweat it out sitting in the sauna. So it was a really interesting morning. I felt like I had razor blades in the back of my throat. And like, that was a huge concern for me, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
going into the biggest profile fight of my career again. And then on top of that, a possible 25-minute fight. And it was just like, that was my concern. If, conditioning, everything was phenomenal. But I was like, okay, when you're sick, it feels a little different. And I was really concerned about how my cardio was going to play a part.
Did you consider at all pulling out?
For a split second, I actually did.
Wow.
And, that's just me being a human being. But then at the end of the day, like I've worked so hard and to get back to this place and it's taken 5 years and the opportunity was in front of me. Uh-oh. The perfect opportunity was in front of me. And it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, you know what? Like I said, I mean, we're athletes, we're constantly persevering, we're constantly climbing. Like I've climbed tons of mountains and I was like, here's another mountain to climb. So we got up that morning and, I pushed back my hair braiding and went up to the treadmill and started sprinting, trying to see if we could blow out my lungs. I'm spitting all kinds of stuff out. And it was just
Oh.
like, all right, here we go.
And so how much do you think that affected your performance on the night? Like, and I say this because I know someone may clip this off and say, here's Raquel offering an excuse for blah, 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 blah. But I am the one asking you these questions. And so you're not offering it up. I'm just wondering, do you think it hindered what you tried to do on that Saturday night?
I told my coaches on multiple occasions, I was like, this is going to hurt because I already felt like I had body aches and stuff going on. I was really calm. And I think it was just kind of everything just kind of playing a part. I mean, I've been in the sport for a really long time. So having the experience and stuff, there's always a certain calm, but it was oddly calm. And then like, I felt a little bit of muscle fatigue and my coaches kept yelling at me and they're like, let your freaking hands go and whatnot. And there was a few points in the fight where like I should have just kept going, but I kept like falling into certain things. And so it was a little bit that like affected me. But at the end of the day, I'm proud of myself. I got the job done. The ultimate goal was to conquer the world title. And that's the fun part about fighting, right? Like
Yeah.
the next fight, you go out there and you change things up.
That moment where they declare you the winner, the belt gets wrapped around your waist. What does that feel like? Especially considering everything you had
I
been through in your life and career, and then even on this particular day.
It was just everything coming together, like all the mountains I've climbed, all the setbacks I've had, the dark places I've had to dig myself out of, the injuries I've overcome, like, people constantly, all the criticism, just everything, the blood, sweat, and tears. It was just all like it. I mean, that belt resembles all of that. And so, kind of just, I don't know. I still don't have the words. I know when Cormier walked in and he has this big smile to interview me, Dana's putting the belt on me, and like, I just did not even know how to process it all. My family's jumping for joy and they're all sitting there. And, I mean, it's the craziest, like, most beautiful, rewarding experience. And hopefully in the next, like, few days, I can find the perfect words for it all.
If we would have talked in May of 2018 after the Amanda fight, and I would imagine that was some kind of low because not only did it not go your way, there was some criticism of your team and whatnot. Would you have ever believed that the story would turn out like this?
Yeah, because I'm the kind of person that I'm not going to give up. Like back in May, back then, like it just wasn't my time. And that's the thing, everybody's journey is unique. Everybody's journey is different. And even being on the Ultimate Fighter, you have to win the Ultimate Fighter to get in the UFC. That wasn't my case. And I've been the most active one from my season of the Ultimate Fighter. And then I fought for a world title, and that was a hard time frame in general. I fought Misha back in 2016. I went into that fight with a torn right shoulder. So I had total reconstructive shoulder surgery, a bicep repair, a wrist surgery, just back to back. And then that's when my health started taking a turn. And, I just really wasn't in sync with myself at all. I didn't understand things. And it was just a lot. And it's just part of being, I'm a professional athlete, but it's also part of just being a human. Like we have stuff that goes on. And so going and UFC calls and they offer me the biggest profile fight of my career. And it's, as an athlete, like, heck yeah, that's what I want. That's what I worked so hard for. As a person, like, I was nowhere near ready. And then, one thing after another, I ended up breaking my leg, and I broke my leg in October. We're originally scheduled for December. And it was crazy, right? It's just a whirlpool. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not that person I was then. My health isn't where it was. And, I feel like I've had the time to just grow as a person and as an athlete. And that's the cool part about life. Like, we're constantly just evolving and adapting. And that was a really dark time in my life, just as a person in general. And then, of course, as an athlete, like, it was tough. And, so many people are constantly criticizing us athletes. First and foremost, everybody who steps into that octagon deserves respect. Like, it is not easy. And if it was easy, like, everybody else would be doing it. But we're out there and we're putting everything we have on the line. Like, we're putting ourselves into dangerous places. When you're signing paperwork and they're like, okay, here's the paperwork to say that, like, you're taking the risk of serious injury or even death. I mean, that's scary. But you have these athletes, all of us, we're out there doing it, and it's entertainment of these other people. But then you have people constantly criticizing us. Like, that's not cool.
And so how do you deal with that? And I'm just curious, do you feel like you have been disrespected? Because I know you've been asked about, oh, they should close the division and this situation. This is the greatest moment of your life, not just of your career, one of the greatest moments. I don't want to overstep, but it's a huge accomplishment. And you have people trying to rain on your parade. How do you deal with that when you see that?
It's always going to be life, right? But I'm not here for other people's expectations. Everybody's life is unique. We all have one life to live. And at the end of the day, like, I'm focused on the things that I can control. I'm focused on my passions and my hard work, my goals in life, and what I want to achieve for my family. So everybody's going to talk. I mean, you can have the perfect life. You can have everything absolutely perfect, but there's always going to be people who criticize. And so, like I said, I mean, it's not an impact for me. I've always been the underdog. I've always been criticized, but you know what? I'm here. I'm doing what I need to. And now I'm the current world champion. Like, at the end of the day, that's a goal I set for myself a long time ago. Um, you know, 14 years ago when I started this sport, I remember saying I wanted to be one of the first women in the UFC, and people laughed in my face because it wasn't even an option. I became one of the first 10 women to ever sign with the UFC. Then, of course, the world title, and everybody, again, they laughed. But I am here. I'm doing exactly what I need to. I'm changing my family's life. I'm changing my life. I'm achieving goals as a person. And that's all that matters to me.
One of the great things about you becoming champion is because you are one of the OGs of this game. You were doing this long before there was a UFC women's division, and I think a lot of people who remember you in Invicta and other promotions would appreciate that. And then when you add to it all the stuff that you've had to overcome, it's actually quite remarkable that you're even here as champion, let alone just fighting. How have you been able to stick around so long and thrive?
Times have changed. So for me, like, I'm the type of person, I broke my back snowboarding, and that's actually how I got into fighting. And some people let fear get the best of them and they step away from those things. For me, it was like, as soon as I felt better, I could walk again and do things, I wanted to be back on the mountain. And my family, they were frustrated. They're like, you need to get rid of your snowboard. Like, this can't happen. And same thing, life is always going to throw curveballs at us, but it's about how you bounce back. And I'm just the type of person that I don't let those things get me down. I set a new goal. I constantly adapt. I like to persevere. I love the challenges. And that's one reason I really fell in love with MMA. It doesn't matter how good you are and how long you train, like, it's constantly evolving. You get to constantly grow, and there's going to constantly be challenges. And I absolutely love that. So I put that into the same perspective in life. Like, nothing's going to hit harder than life. And so I'm just constantly adapting and growing and finding my way through.
I saw on your Instagram that your beloved grandmother isn't doing great these days, and I'm sorry for that. But you posted a great photo of you giving her the belt upon coming home, and you wrote in the caption that you were kind of battling with going through a tough time with a loved one, but also you're excited about your title fight and you wanted to see this through so that you can have that moment. And so, could I ask, what was it like when you got to give your grandmother the belt and be there with her upon coming back home?
Um, it's gonna make me emotional. That was everything to me, having this opportunity again, like, and working so hard and just, watching my nana decline. Like, she's the queen of our family, and she's the one that has showed me how to be a true warrior, just in everything. And you know, I told Tisha, I was like, I feel like this is gonna be the best and the worst time of my life. Like, the best because I knew I was not gonna get beat again. I knew that I was gonna go out there and I was gonna become champion. But then I felt like I was gonna lose my nana, and it was just like hoping and praying. And I'm busting my ass every day at the gym, and at nighttime I'm with my family, and we're at the hospital. On weekends we're together, and it's just like we're constantly by her side. And some days she would wake up and she's talking to us. Other days, like, she's just laying there. And it's really hard to go from my nana being there, and she's always been there. She's always been at every one of my sporting events. She's always been there, whether I'm sick, I'm in the hospital, I'm doing the greatest things in life. Like, she has been by my side. And getting ready to go to Canada, I went to go see her, and we couldn't even really get her to wake up. And so to not even have those words from her, or for her to be herself, like, that was tough. It was so tough, and it hit my heart. And I just prayed. I was like, like, I pray I can make it through this fight, and like, I don't get a phone call this week. And then coming home, obviously that excitement was there. The biggest thing for me was showing up at the airport, seeing the young kids. Like, man, kids, like, that is my inspiration to keep climbing, keep doing things, and just being a role model for these young kids. So emotions set in then, and then I went straight to my nana's house, and we couldn't get her to wake up. So I put the belt on her bed, and we put Alea with her and took some pictures. And then I just visited with my family, and when we were getting ready to leave, I went in there to go tell her bye, and she actually woke up. And when she woke up, like, she just had this smile. She got diagnosed with dementia as well. So some days it's hit or miss. Like, she knows you, and other days she don't. She just kind of stares at you. And she woke up and she gives me a smile, and she's like, "Hi, Mija." And then I was like, "Look, Nana, I did it." And she was just like, "Oh my gosh, I knew my champ would do it. Look at this beautiful belt. It's so heavy." And like, I just cried. Like, it was everything I needed.
That's incredible, and I'm happy that you had that moment with her, and I hope that you can have many more with her. I saw the video of
Thank you.
you coming home, the reception that you got at the airport. Were you expecting that, or was that a complete surprise?
I wasn't. I was actually sitting on the airplane. We landed, and Tisha ripped my AirPods out of my ear, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And they were giving me an announcement on the plane, and the whole plane is cheering.
Wow.
So that was really cool. And then we get off the plane, and Tisha's like, "Give me the backpack," because I had the belt in there. And she pulls the belt out of its case and stuff. And she's like, "I'm trying to take a picture of you and Alea next to the Colorado Springs sign." And I was like, okay. So I went with it. And then as we started walking out of the terminal, everybody just started chanting Rocky. So I come from a huge Hispanic family, and I just thought it was like my family. And when I came around the corner, I mean, there was tons of people there. It was family, friends, fans, the news stations, like my recovery team. It was everybody. My coaches were there. They flew home before. We stayed in Canada a little longer. So just to kind of have everybody, and I mean, all these kids, they had posters, they had balloons. It was amazing. Like, it was really cool.
And so when you're the queen of the mountain, obviously now you're the hunted as opposed to the hunter. And we had your old pal Julianna Pena on the show, and she offered some thoughts on your history together and your fight. And I don't want to. Initially, I thought to play you the comments and have you respond, but I don't want to kill the buzz here. And so I just want to know if you've seen anything that she has said about your fight and you, and how it makes you feel when you hear some of these comments.
I've seen everything. I've
Okay.
seen all the criticism. I've seen these athletes talk. Like, I pay attention to everything, but it's just not who I am. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, and it's exactly what I told Mayra when we were getting ready to fight at the press conference, you know, we were there and she started on, and it was just like, our fists are going to do the talking. And it's the same thing. Like, you can keep running your mouth. You can keep saying all these things. Like, I feel like Juliana has a very, like, delusional version of, our history together. Um, and but it makes it fun, right? It's building a storyline. And the more she keeps talking and yapping, like, she's selling things. Good for you. But at the end of the day, our fists are gonna talk. And I'll tell you what, like, it is a fight I've been waiting for since 2013 that we were on the Ultimate Fighter. Somehow our our time has not aligned, but obviously it's coming. And I'm excited to finally punch her ass in the mouth. I will say that.
And she is the one, right? Like that's. I know you haven't signed anything, but like, there's no one else, right? She's going to be your first defense.
Yeah, that's the one that makes sense. Honestly, I thought she was going to be the one that we were going to fight for the vacant title, but she's still battling an injury, I guess. So that's what I have in mind next. I mean, that's the fight I want next.
Right.
So that's where my mind frame's at. That's where my coach's mind frames are at. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, there's been, like I said, that's what I have in mind. But I mean, I've had a wild journey. I thought I was going to fight Aldana a second time. And then all of a sudden there was a huge change with that last May. And so things are constantly changing in the sport. Things happen last minute. And so we'll see. But she's next on my list.
And realistically, when would you like that fight to happen?
Um, well, I don't know why she thinks she calls the shots. I'm the champion.
Right.
So she's sitting here. I know she's talking June or July, but Tisha's got some exciting news coming back.
Okay.
And so it's her focus now. And that's kind of where I'm at. I do want some time off. I want to be able to spend some time with my family. I want to spend time with Alea. And Tisha really held down the fort throughout this whole camp. And so now I just want to be mama bear. I want to hang out with my daughter, and I want to let Tisha do her thing. So I'm thinking, honestly, probably not until at least August, maybe September, or even later than that. But we'll see.
Okay, and things are going to get really interesting in April with Kayla Harrison making her debut. Do you think she will be able to make that weight? Not just once, of course, but like multiple times. She's never fought lower than 146.
I mean, when it comes to weight cut, that's the hardest part of fighting. It really is. Comes down to a science. It's more than possible. I feel like she's definitely going to be professional, but I think my biggest thing, obviously you're bringing it up. So our biggest thing is, how is she going to make that weight? My next question off that is, how is she going to be able to perform at 135? That's a huge key factor. So, I mean, I guess we're all going to see, right?
She's obviously a big name, and she's coming in as a big free agent, Olympic gold medalist 2 times. She wins in April and does so impressively against Holly Holm. Do you think there's any chance she leapfrogs Juliana?
I mean, like I said, anything can change. I'm not opposed to it, but at the same time, like, I just don't find that fair. You have so many athletes, and I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, because I've been that athlete for a long time. Like nothing was ever handed to me. I've had to work my way to the top the very hard way, time and time again. And so it really frustrates me when other athletes come in and all of a sudden they just jump the line. Like there's been plenty of athletes who are here. They've been here for a long time. They're busting their ass every single day. They're trying to grind through each and every fight and build things for themselves and work their way to that same opportunity. And I feel like, she doesn't deserve to just skip the line because she has a huge name behind her.
Okay. And could I ask what an interesting fight week that was in Toronto for many different reasons, but I'd be remiss if I don't ask you about Sean Strickland and some of those comments, if only because in the post-fight press conference, Dana White mentioned that here we have two lesbian fighters in the co-main event, and they didn't seem to mind anything essentially. And so, did you care about some of the things that he has said, was saying, continues to say? Does any of that bother you?
At the end of the day, I feel like I said, people are always going to talk. They're always going to have their opinions. You're allowed to have your own opinion, but at the end of the day, you're not going to affect my life. What you do with your life doesn't affect me. I just think it was disgusting on his part to even be concerned about us as human beings and our lifestyle and just the comments he was making. And, at the end of the day, MMA has grown a ton. The women are here. We're here to stay. The divisions are growing. You have tons of up and coming talent. So to criticize female athletes, I don't agree with any of that, but I can't control that. And that wasn't my focus. My focus was to go out there and accomplish my goal and, make weight and do the things that I needed to try to be as healthy as possible. So Dana and Hunter came in before the press conference and they asked me how I was doing with everything. And it was just one of those things, like, you take it as a grain of salt and you dish it out. Like, it's not going to affect what I'm here doing. At the end of the day, you want to talk, but we're still your co-main event fight. So
I'm happy they did that, and credit to them for doing that. That's really great to hear. I guess what just kind of rubs me the wrong way is, as you know, this is a very inclusive sport, and MMA at times from the outside is viewed as like this, Neanderthal barroom brawl sport. But I think you could speak to this as well as anyone. Like, you can have a whole card, 12 fights, 11 fights are men, 2 women at the top, and no one bats an eye, and no one seems to care about your sexual preference. No one cares if you're single, if you're married. Like, who cares? And so I feel like this sport, more so than women's boxing and more so than basketball or other, has really been at the forefront of, giving women an opportunity to be on equal footing with men. And then it's one thing to do it in an interview. It's one thing to do it on your YouTube channel, on your social media, but at an official UFC press conference, to speak like that when there are people like you and Myra in the co-main event feels like a massive step back. And I give you credit for not, and I'm going to get shit for this and I don't really care, but I give you credit for not caring because you're about to have a title fight. But still, this shouldn't be happening at an official press conference with absolutely no repercussions. There's a big question now is, what's the line? What's the line? What's the line? And I kind of feel like that is a pretty good line. That right there is a pretty good line, saying that stuff.
I absolutely agree with you. But at the end of the day, like, that's why the world is the way it is. People are constantly attacking different things. And it's like, at the end of the day, you should have been focused on just yourself. But it's always going to be that way. I think it's important for people to stay true to who they are and to focus on the things that you can control. You can't control other people. And when you're letting these other people impact your lives, like, it's only going to drag you down. It's going to hold you back from what you want. So, stay true to you, and you could take people's words as a grain of salt. But I don't know. I respect Dana and Hunter for giving their concern. I also respect the fact that they do give freedom of speech and they give their athletes a platform to be who they are. And they just don't care. But, a lot of people are constantly criticizing things. They're attacking Dana and saying different things. But he does care about his athletes. He is there, and he did check in on us to make sure things were okay. And he's like, I have your back with this situation too. To see that concern and everything. But for me, like I said, it's just one of those things to where if I would have focused on it, it was only going to have a negative impact for me.
Sean, say anything to you?
No, we didn't. Like, every time he came around, it was just kind of like we both turned the other direction. I stared at him a couple times and he would just turn the other direction. Like, he's out there. He's a great athlete. He's selling his fights, he's running his mouth, he's being freedom of speech, doing whatever, but no, he didn't say anything. Like, he just interesting character.
Okay. I would argue there's a difference between freedom of speech and hate speech, but I don't want to go down that path. Um,
I mean, yeah, we could say that too, but
Right, right. There is a big difference. By the way, there's a member of our team, producer Connor. He is a graduate of the University of Georgia, and he went down a deep dive of your Instagram stuff and found you wearing a Georgia Bulldogs hat twice, two different hats, two different occasions. And so he wants to know, what is your connection to the University of Georgia? Is this just a hat you like, or did you have some sort of connection to the school?
no, I'm a huge Bulldogs fan. My dad and his family is from Georgia, so I've always been a Dogs fan. And then, I wear Ohio State too. My Nino, which is my godfather, he's from Ohio State, and his family, and so they've always bought us all the gear every time we go visit Ohio and everything else. But go Dogs!
Okay. I love it. And he will love that as well. Congratulations on the win. All the best to you. And I hope you feel better soon. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy being champion for the first time in your career. Long overdue, well deserved, and well earned. And well done on the big win in Toronto a couple of weeks ago.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great talking with you.
Yes, same here. There she is, Raquel Pennington, the women's bantamweight champion. Tremendous stuff. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.